Welcome to Becoming Limitless. This is the podcast for entrepreneurs who want to optimize their brain and their body with biohacking. I'm going to teach you how to eliminate brain fog and upgrade your health so you can have more productivity, energy, and growth in your business. I'm your host, Tanessa Shears. Let's jump in. Welcome back to the Becoming Limitless podcast. So today we actually have a guest on the show. We spend so much of our time on these episodes talking about how to optimize the internal environment of your body. We talk about getting good food, we talk about sleeping well, about being resilient to stress, and about moving your body optimally. But today's guest actually does that exact same thing, optimizing our health from the outside via looking at our environment. So we have Ryan Blaser on today, and he is the accomplished founder and CEO of Test My Home, which is an environmental company dedicated to improving people's health and well-being. It's kind of like a functional medicine doctor, but for your home. And what he does is he uses his expertise in building biology and healthy home consulting to look for and address toxic sources that could be impacting your health. This is a first in a two-part series that I have Ryan Blaser to come on the show and talk to us all about actionable, simple changes that we can make to the environment around us that can help us feel so much more energized, focused, and clear. And he's talking about major things in our air quality in our homes today, because so many of us are working from home that the air quality that we live in, day out, we sleep in, we eat in, we work in, it affects our ability to stay focused and energized and clear, and it is causing a ton of brain fog. So in this episode, we're going to be diving into specifically two topics. We're going to be talking first about mold, where to look for it, what the problem is with it, and how it could be impacting your health. And then we're going to dive into air quality in general and how a lot of the products we're using on our walls, on our skin, and in our candles, everything like that, like how it's affecting our ability to feel healthy. And I know I learned a ton in this episode, and I know you're going to too. So let's jump into the episode. All right, Ryan, welcome to the podcast. I'm really excited to dive into this episode that we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about a ton of stuff that I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't think about when it comes to their energy, their ability to have clear thinking, how they feel during a day, and what might be impacting that. And as we were talking just on the pre-show, like I talk a lot about it coming from are you getting enough sleep? Are you eating the right foods? Like what's going on with our stress? But you come at health and just, the wholeness and the longevity of our lives and everything like that from such a different perspective. So I would love for you to give us an introduction, who you are, what your company is, and how you help people.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me on as well. I'm glad that you're bringing awareness to this topic, because I think it's one thing that people overlook a lot, and that is our home environment. And so I am a building biologist. I'm an electromagnetic engineer. I've been working with environmental toxicology for most of my adult life, 20 something years now. And I'm just fascinated with how the environment affects our body and how much impact it has. All the little things that have to do with our environment. When, people talk about the environment, they usually think of trees and mountains and ocean, but they don't think about their home inside their house or their office space or their car as their environment. And so the environment is really anything that's outside of our skin. And you can look at our house like our second skin, and everything in between that air can affect our body big time. So basically like a home doctor or a functional medicine doctor for your house, I'll go into your home, spend all day, just do a top to bottom thorough analysis. And we analyze everything from air, mold, chemical usage, lighting, water, and EMF and technology exposure. And then once we see all the things in your home that are affecting your health, we come up with a plan to help fully optimize your house and turn it into a true healing sanctuary to where you can truly optimize your ability. And if you're working from home, stress, brain fog, fatigue, all these things we want to try to optimize and level up to get you the most out of your life.
I love this. You guys are going to get so much out of this episode today. I've been listening to guest episodes Ryan's done on other podcasts. And like this morning, my windows are all open. I tossed out a bunch of old scented candles. Like this is so fun. I consider myself a pretty holistic person, but this is like a level I am so excited to dive into with you. But so in the first part of this, like I really wanted to gear this toward talking about specifically air quality and mold. I feel like these are conversations that are kind of on the rise right now, and we're starting to hear more about them. And I think it would be a great way to kick this off. So let's start talking about it. Let's start with mold. Now, What exactly is mold and what is the problem? Why is it so problematic in our homes?
Yeah, so mold, I would say, is probably one of the most underrated pandemics of our time, true pandemics of our time. It really is affecting millions and millions of people across the country and the world. And the problem with mold is that it's been on the world longer than we have, and its job is to break things down. It's an organism that eats on organic material that can be wood, paper, leaves, dead skin cells, dust. It breaks it down. And so in that process, it also releases mold VOCs, which we can smell. It's that musty smell, which can affect us. But more importantly, it releases mycotoxins. Mycotoxins are a neurotoxin for the brain, and that can have a whole range of symptoms with people. And when we have mold building up inside the environment, in your indoor environment, and we don't have a lot of airflow, and that the mold spores, the mold mycotoxins build up, we breathe that in, it can really, really affect us. And the symptoms can be anywhere from brain fog, fatigue, nausea, skin issues. You can have respiratory issues. People are allergic to this stuff, and a lot of times can't even be around it very long. But these toxins build up in the body and cause a lot of issues. And so it's really important to analyze the home and make sure we don't have any mold buildup in our house that we're potentially breathing in these mycotoxins.
Oh, that sounds frightening. So, like, imagine like we know what mold looks like if it's like there's black mold sitting in the shower. There's that kind of mold. But like, where are we looking? Like, if we're just kind of like, okay, this is new to me. I've never really thought about this before. Where should I be looking around the house? Like, what are my red flags that are gonna maybe let me know that there might be a deeper problem to look into?
Yeah, deeper problems can be if you're gone for a while and you come back in your home and you notice a smell, a musty smell, or just doesn't smell right, something smells off. Or if you've had a history of leaks or water damage in your house, if you have an area in your home or the paint is bubbling, maybe the trim is starting to bow out a little bit. Maybe you have sprinklers that hit the house, you have a roof leak, or maybe you have a 5-year-old boy that likes to play in the bathtub and splash every single night when he takes a bath, and it's a swimming pool in your bathtub. Those are the kind of issues that we want to look for, because mold has to have water to grow. Without water, mold can't grow. So we're looking for all the places in our home with water. So that would be underneath the sinks, that'd be behind the toilet, that's around the shower, that's behind the fridge, in the attic, in the crawl space if you have one in your floor. That's the places that mold tends to grow the most.
Yeah, and I've heard you say on a podcast before that like lifting up the toilet tank and checking in there to see, and if there's like, how often are you finding mold in the back of toilet tanks? Is that pretty common?
I'd say about half the time that we look in the toilet tank, we see mold. It's a damp place. It's dark. There's a good opportunity for mold when it gets pulled in it. So when you flush the toilet, the water goes down and it pulls air into it. If there's mold spores floating around in your air, it's going to land inside your toilet tank and potentially start growing mold. So that's a good home check that everybody can do. When you get done listening to this podcast, just go open your toilet tank and check it out. If you see mold, it's an indication of a bigger problem.
Yeah. Are all types of mold like problematic? Because I know that when our cleaning lady comes in, what she always will point out is like, oh, do you notice this like orange buildup on the bottom of the tub? That's some type of mold as well, but it's not hazardous. Is that true?
So there's thousands of species of mold, just like there's thousands of different species of animals, and some are a lot more dangerous than others. You got lions and tigers and bears that are very dangerous, and you got little kitty cats that are not harmful at all. Same thing with mold. We have all different kinds and species that can be very, very dangerous, and some that won't affect us at all.
Yeah. So which ones are we looking for then, like on these checks that you were mentioning before?
So there's a group called the trichosaline group, and it has your black molds and chetomium and some of your more water damaged molds, but also the aspergillus and the penicillium, some of the cladosporiums. But really, if you have mold, mold's not a good thing in your house, because it's going to break down and eat your house eventually. Think of mold like the cancer of your home. So even though you have mold somewhere, it may or not be affecting your health as more as some other molds might be, but you still don't want to have it in your house. So if you see mold in your home, you definitely want to take care of it right away.
Yeah, I bet. One of the lady that comes and helps out with cleaning our house, she was telling us that she was in somebody's shower with her hand on the tile scrubbing, and the tile gave way and fell into the wall. The drywall, everything crumbled, and it was just like this pool sea of mold behind the shower. She's like, it was the grossest thing that's ever happened to me. So it has stuck with me and kind of been something on my radar, which is why now after looking into all this, like why I wanted to bring you on in the podcast. But I was like, that is disgusting.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure the people that lived in that house probably did not feel very well when you have mold that bad. And what happened in that situation? A lot of homes, when people lay in the tile or building those, if they're cutting corners, they don't lay the concrete or the cement board behind the tile like they're supposed to, or waterproof it, and they mount the tile directly to the drywall. That's the worst thing you can do. And we see mold every time in that kind of scenario.
Oh, I bet that's in a lot of home DIY products and people or projects, and people just want to do it themselves too.
Yep, exactly.
Oh man. Okay, so let's say you're looking around the house, you find mold, or maybe you're just not feeling very well, and you're sleeping pretty well, you're eating pretty clean, and you suspect this might be a problem. What's the next step?
So, really at that point, it's best to have a professional come in. There's a lot of DIY home tests and kits and things you can do with air samples. And people have heard about the ERMIs and that, but really, those are just one of many tools that you really need to fully diagnose a home. It's really best just to call in a professional that's going to do thermal imaging camera. They're going to do moisture readings. They're going to do cavity samples. They're going to do a really thorough visual inspection. They can collect air samples, surface samples, dust analysis. Once you have the big picture, you have all of this lab information and data, and along with the history of the home as well. What flooding, what leaks have we had, and then what health symptoms do we have? Only then really can you make a really definitive decision about really what's going on with the home with the mold. So once we find that out and we have a mold issue pinned down, and we know, okay, we got the leak behind, this is where the mold's coming from, this is what type it is, then we can get a professional remediation company to come in and really take care of it the right way and fix the mold spot, fix the spot where water was coming in, because the mold was there because of a water leak or water damage. So we need to make sure that that is fixed so it doesn't happen again. But then the next step that a lot of people really miss is the deep cleaning that's required throughout the rest of the home. So as this mold, let's say underneath your kitchen sink, there was a small leak and mold was growing. This whole time it's growing. Think about it like someone smoking a cigarette in your kitchen. So the guy smoking the cigarette isn't necessarily the problem. It's the smoke that's going throughout your whole house that you're breathing in and settling onto your surfaces, getting into the couch, getting into the carpet, your clothing. It doesn't take very long for that smoke to inundate the whole house. That's the same thing that's happening with this mold as it's growing and it's active and it's releasing the mycotoxins and the mold VOCs. It's polluting the rest of your house. So you really need to do a good deep clean on your home. And that's where, if it's bad enough and people are sick enough, that's where you hear people have to get rid of all of their belongings and throw them away because it's too contaminated. But it's not every case that you have to do that. And that's, again, where a professional can come and help guide you through the process.
Yeah, because I imagine there are definitely some surfaces that are more porous than others. That it's like those are things that just have to get tossed, and there are certain things that you can keep.
Right. Yeah. Like clothes, you can put in the washing machine on a double cycle and it will get up to 95% of the biotoxins out of it. Anything that you can put in the dishwasher, like pots and pans and porous surface, is really like the couches and big stuffy animals, things that you really can't wash or put in the washing machine. Carpet, and a lot of times has to be replaced. Those are really the issues in homes that are really bad.
Yeah, I bet. Well, and I know that you have a pretty strong opinion on mold inspectors and mold remediators being from separate camps. Can you elaborate a little bit as to why?
Super important. It's kind of like um, telling your kid to go take a test and then let him grade his own test. You have to have two, and you want to make sure that they don't have any relations really in between them, because you're going to have, if they're good old buddies, been working together for 15 years, you better believe that his mold testing is going to reflect, that decision. If he comes in and he doesn't feel like it's right, you basically want the mold testing company to be on your side and the remediation company to be completely separate.
Awesome. And then you guys act as the inspection side, right? Going through, checking everything out, seeing what work needs to be done.
Correct. We are the initial inspection. We determine what the problem is, and we come up with the scope of work. And then you could take that as the client and go shop that around to several different remediation companies. They come in, they follow that protocol, and then we come in at the end, ensure that they followed that protocol, and then we do another round of testing to ensure that they actually did in fact get all the mold.
So it's like a check and a balance thing. I like that.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, it's got to be separate.
Yeah. And where are you guys based out of right now? Like if they wanted to bring you guys in person, where in the States do you serve right now?
So it depends. We have a couple different price points. We try to keep a lower price point, and we go around to Austin, Phoenix, Salt Lake, LA, and Boise. And we'll kind of travel week here, week there, and we kind of travel around and group all of our jobs together. But if you more of a specialized need, if we do travel anywhere from Mexico to Canada, if you want to pay the travel expenses to send the team out. So we can travel, but it is a little bit more costly to do that just because of the expenses.
That's cool. That's cool. And I know that you guys have a remote testing kit. I think we'll touch back on that as the end as kind of like a call to action, something that, everyone can look into. But it's funny, as you were talking, I have an interesting question that's come up. So my dad always told me, like, we grew up in one of those houses with like the old windowsills where you get the condensation, get the little mold. He's always just like, hit it with some bleach and it'll never come back. Is that effective enough for small little bits of mold that pop up in houses?
It's not. So bleach won't kill it right away. And when it does, it pisses it off. It knows it's under attack and it will release all of its mycotoxins in a defense mechanism. And so it can make it worse. It will only get the surface. It doesn't get into the roots. And so it will just grow right back.
Oh, sorry, Dad. Not right on that one. So is there anything
Yeah.
that we can do at home? Like if we see like little bits of like in the shower or in the windowsills and stuff, is there anything that's safer than hitting it with bleach and making it angry?
I like to use hypochlorous acid, force of nature,
Mhm.
cleans it off really good. Soap and water cleans it off really good. Really just keeping the area dry, using your ventilation fan when you're done showering. Those are all the steps you can do to help prevent the mold.
Yeah, definitely. So if we're shifting kind of like into air quality as a whole, and we're just looking at the homes that we're living in, what can we do to maybe let's start with this. How important is air quality overall? And like, what are some of the things that we don't think about when it comes to our air quality in our homes?
Air, I believe, is probably one of the most crucial things to keep us alive. Without air, we would all die rather quickly. Within a couple minutes, we would die. And so it's extremely important to look at our air quality and make sure that what we are breathing in is super clean, non-toxic. There's not harmful chemicals or particles in there that we're bringing into our body. So to me, air quality is super, super important. And I think one of the biggest things that I see people go wrong in their homes is they're not getting enough ventilation. Okay. We breathe out CO2, we breathe out other toxins that our body is expelling and getting rid of. And when we have these boxes that we live in that are super airtight, a lot of homes aren't ventilated properly. In fact, if you are in a commercial building or public building, it's required to have so much air exchange per hour, like 30 CFM per person per hour is the law to make sure we have fresh air. Now, in residential buildings, our homes, we don't have that. And so it's up to the homeowner to install a system or open their windows on a regular basis, at least once or twice daily, like we talked about that you heard, to get that fresh air in. And so that really honestly is one of the biggest things we're seeing. And so you have an office space that you work from home, all the windows and doors are closed, you're keeping the kids out. Guess what? You're making this nice little airtight box that you're breathing out carbon dioxide. You're breathing in, you're using up all the oxygen. Let's say some of the paint and carpet may be off gassing. Maybe there's some cleaning products in there. Hopefully, no fragrances or plugins, anything like that. All of these things are going to the air, and you're sitting there breathing that in. And you start to get drowsy, and then you start to get a little brain fog, and you don't feel well. And then you're like, oh, I got to get outside and take a walk. And you go do that, and you feel better. And then you come back in. A lot of that is simply because you just don't have fresh air in your room. That's the biggest hack that people can do that's easy and cheap and free. Is just open your windows, get some more fresh air.
I love that. And so that's just such an easy, simple thing that we can do. What are some other things, or are there other things that we can just do besides opening the windows that help our air quality at home?
Air filtration, making sure that our air is clean and filtered. So where we have particles that can come from dead skin cells, insect parts, insect feces, mold, mycotoxins, those are all floating around in the air, and that's what makes up our dust. So in your home, if you notice that your dust is building up rather quickly, you dust, and then 3 days later you come back and there's dust on the surface, that's an indication that your air is not getting enough filtration. So
Mhm.
what you can do, if you have an HVAC system with a filter, make sure that you have a really good high quality filter in there, and really just get the best one you can find to put in that filter unit, and then go over to the unit and turn it from auto to on your thermostat. And what that does is it will run your fan all the time regardless of whether it's heating or cooling. And what that'll do is cycle air through your house through the filter, and it'll pull out those particles.
Mhm.
On top of that, I would recommend also some standalone air filtration units that you can put into your house in the rooms that you spend more time in. as a supplementary to help clean the air. Like Jasper unit is the one we recommend. It's a really good, high quality commercial unit that's really going to clean the air. So those are really the two big things when it comes to air quality.
I love that. So here's an interesting question for you. So when I work with a lot of my clients who are most of them are in the States, they're like, oh yeah, I've got, AC and I've got all that. But in Canada, like AC is not needed here. So we don't have those systems built in. So what would you recommend for clearing the air if we don't have those built-in systems?
Then you would need the standalone filters in the rooms that you spend the majority of the time in, or a couple, in the bedroom, the office, the main area, and then make sure you're cracking the windows. Now, the only time I'd say not open the windows is if it's fire season and it's really smoky outside, or you live downtown and it's a pollution day. You can monitor that stuff. There's apps that you can get on and you can view, and you can see if the pollen level's high or the PM 2.5, which is the air pollution, is high. Breezometer is a really cool app and website that we use, and you can get on and view pollen, you can view smoke, you can view dust, and if it looks like it's high that day, then you can keep your windows closed. But the majority of the time in a lot of these areas, the air quality outside is typically better than the air quality inside.
Awesome. And then what are we looking for if you're looking for those, like an air purifier for the bedroom at night or for the main living area? Like, I know that when we've looked into them in the past, there's been a lot of like different filter particle sizes. Am I correct on that? Like, what are we looking for in those?
Yeah, there's all of them are really just a filter that's usually some sort of paper or media filter, and it's a fan with a motor that's pulling air through the filter. Now, there's all kinds of shapes and sizes, and some catch more particles, some move more air, some have higher EMF, some look better, some look worse. That's why the Jasper is the one that we recommend. It kind of check box off all of the different. It's got all the best qualities to it, lifetime warranty, and it moves a lot of air, and it's quiet and looks good. And so that's really the one we recommend. But really, they're all kind of doing the same thing. They just different flavors and sizes.
Gotcha. Okay, that's good to know. So what are some of the other things that are polluting the air in our home? I know we briefly touched on, obviously mold is a huge one. What are some of the other things that we may not be suspecting that are throwing off, I guess, the quality of our air?
Yeah, in a newer home. So we get calls a lot. People move into a brand new home and then they start getting headaches, nausea, not feeling well. And we go in there and do testing. And what's happened is a lot of the furnishings, the paint, the carpet, the flooring, the cabinetry is all off gassing. It's off gassing chemicals and formaldehydes and glues and binders. And this is building up in the air. If people are adding in certain things, like fragrances are a big one. Hopefully no one's still using the chemical-laden plugins. Those are all chemical based and they're releasing phthalates into the air. They can be endocrine disruptors, but also cleaning supplies. You want to use natural, healthy, non-toxic cleaning supplies, personal care products, laundry detergents. Make sure you're using the natural, scent-free variations of those, because all those things are just releasing into the air and they're building up. And also allergens. If you're in an older home, a lot of times we'll see allergens, the dust mites, insect parts, all those things are building up, as well as the bacteria. Bacteria can also be in a home that's, if you're not diligent about cleaning, if your house can get dirty, then we can see a lot of bacteria start to build up.
Yeah, so we're no to the Glade plugins and the room sprays, and we're no to the scented candles. What about things like essential oils that you're just diffusing in water? Is there any issue with those?
So there's some studies that show that the citrus-based ones can affect respiratory. Some people can be sensitive to that. You can overdo it with the essential oils. Now, our bodies like fresh, clean air. Anytime we add to that, sometimes our bodies can push back a little bit. There are some essential oils, though, that can be helpful for certain things, but I would just say keep that to a minimum and not overdo it.
Oh, that's really interesting. So on the topic of cleaning products, obviously, what are we going to look for? Is there such thing as a clean cleaning product that you can get from the store? Because there's a lot of brands out there that promote that they're all natural and stuff like this. Like, are any of those legit, or is there something that's even simpler that we can just use at home?
Yeah, much simpler. So we use a mixture. It's half distilled water and half distilled white vinegar. And then we put a couple drops of lemon essential oil in it. Or you can even get a little more natural and just take lemon peels and put it in the bottle and kind of let it soak for a couple days and then use that as your spray bottle, and you could drink that stuff. It's 100% natural, and we clean, I'd say 95% of our surface general cleaning is using that mixture. You can also use hypochlorous acid, which is force of nature, which is also super cleanly or clean and healthy. We use one that's a new product we're just trying out now. It's copper ionized water. We're just trying that out to see how that works. But there's a lot of really basic, simple things. Really, I'd go with the vinegar, water, and lemon essential oil or lemon peels because it's cheap, easy, about as healthy as you're going to get, and very effective.
Awesome. Okay, I like that. I think we're going to start switching over to that now. I know that I heard you speak on a podcast about an app that's from Environmental Working Group that you can like scan products and they'll give you, tell me about that. Cause I was like, that is cool. Like my audience is all about figuring out the data and testing their own stuff. I love it. Tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, they've made it super easy. It's an app. They also have a website, and the app on your phone, you can scan the barcode. So when you're in the grocery store and you're looking for different products, you can scan the barcode and it will rate it on a scale from 1 to 10, how healthy it is. And you can stick with products that are in the healthy range. And so when we first started, getting super healthy with our home, we downloaded the app and we went through all of the products in our home. We scanned everything. We said, okay, everything 3 and below for right now, we're going to keep. Everything 3 and higher, we're going to get rid of, 10 being dangerous, cancer causing, 1 being you could drink it and rub it on your baby. So when we got through the whole house, we had almost 2 full garbage bags full of chemicals and products. And we even thought we were doing good. And so it was really surprising. It was an eye opener. We just took the afternoon and went through the whole house and found all these products. And it was amazing, under this cabinet and under that, and in the laundry room and in the garage, there was so many of these chemicals that overall they were adding to this toxic soup in our house. And so EWG, Environmental Working Group, is a very good tool you can implement.
What's the most surprising thing that you had to throw out where you were like, this?
Oh man, I don't know. It was all of it. The whole thing was pretty surprising. I mean, even into like sunblock and lotions and hairsprays and shampoos, conditioners. There's just so many things that, and you know what? A lot of it came down to was the fragrances in it. The fragrances were pretty toxic. That was a lot that put them over the edge.
And does this include like makeup as well, or is this just mostly like cleaning products and shampoos and stuff?
Yeah, there's a subcategory under EWG called Skin Deep, which focuses more on cosmetics, but I think it all works under the same app. There's another app also called Think Dirty, which does similar. And so sometimes if you don't see it on the EWG app, you can see it on the Think Dirty app.
Oh, awesome. I feel like there's so many things that I now need to go around my house and start scanning and looking at, just things that like we never think to like question. We're all so busy with, working on our businesses and we're like, I'm just trying to keep my exercise going over here. But there's like all these things that could be just undermining how we're feeling every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, exactly. That's kind of like how you have a personal trainer and you have a nutritionist and you have a functional medicine doctor. Well, that's what we are for the house, because it is hard to think about all this stuff and it can be overwhelming. And so we try to make it simple for people.
Yeah. All right. Last question I have on the air quality stuff. I know we talked about VOCs earlier. Now, what's your take on mattresses? Because honestly, I have a whole episode all about like pillows and mattresses and stuff like that. But this was something that never came up. So, what's your take on like what should we be looking for? Do you have brands that you love? Where should we go from here?
Yeah, so we went down the rabbit hole with mattresses, and I think we recommend a couple on our website. My wife is really good at putting together the healthy products, and she does all that stuff in our business. But I think we ended up getting a mattress from this company in like Hungary or something. It was this virgin sheep wool. It was a wool, it was 8 inches of wool, and then the wool mattress around it. It had zero flame retardant, zero chemicals in it, because the wool is naturally flame retardant. That's a big one. You want to make sure that you don't get the flame retardants in it. A lot of mattresses, unfortunately, have flame retardant. It's this law that was passed because a couple stupid people fell asleep in their bed with the cigarette in their hand and they burned up. And so now there's this law that every mattress out there has to have a ton of chemical on it. And some of them are the PFOAs, the forever chemicals that you hear about that are super nasty. So we got this mattress from out of the country that was all wool, that doesn't have any of that. And it doesn't have any of the box springs in it, any of the metal. So the metal will actually attract EMF. So when it's up against the wall and we have the electric field going through the wall, it can radiate out onto the bed, and the whole bed can actually become energized with the springs and metals that are in it. So you want to stay away from those as well. But other than that, you want to make sure it's organic, no flame retardants, stay away from the metal. And if you can do that, then you're pretty good.
Oh, I love this. This has been such an awesome conversation on air quality. So many things that we can look into. And if we find that the air quality or the mold is an issue, we know that you are there to reach out to. So let's start here. Where can we reach out to you is if you don't go to one of those major cities? Like, can you tell us a little bit more actually about the remote testing kit that you guys offer and what's in that could help?
Yeah, so that was kind of to fill in the gap because not everybody's got money to put our team on the airplane and fly us out there and rent a car and the hotel and everything, because that can get a little expensive. So we developed a remote testing kit where we can actually ship you out the equipment, and then it comes with a training video course that I put together. It has over 40 videos. It's this easy step by step. It's 2 hours worth of content. It's not a whole lot. We kept it short and simple. And how for you to go through your own home and collect your own data. You collect dust and send it to the lab. You collect water, send it to the lab. There's some EMF readers, some air quality readers, some gas meters, gas leak detection. And then once you get all that data, you upload it to your portal, and then you get on a phone call with me or one of my coaches, and we go over the information that you've collected, and we come up with a plan for you. So it's actually been really effective at helping reach people that we can't necessarily get out to right away, that are outside of our service area.
What a valuable resource. Where can people go to either get in touch with you, follow you, or find out about the remote testing kit?
So remote testing kit, if you go to testmyhome.com, that's our website, and you can go to contact us. There's a button there for try out our remote testing kit. You can click on that, and that's our landing page. You can go through, learn all about it. You can order directly off of that site. We have a really good Instagram channel that we try to update regularly and provide a lot of free content on for people, because we found a lot of people are just starting out with this. They don't necessarily need us to come out, and there's a lot of really good tips and easy things you can implement right away without doing testing. And so people can start with our Instagram and watch a lot of our content there. And then on our website, we also have the podcast that I've done with lots of other people. And there's a lot of good content there as well. So you can get a lot of free stuff and get down the road pretty far before you even have to have one of us come out. But if you feel like there is a bigger problem, you smell mold, or you don't feel well in your house, you just have that gut feeling that something's wrong, it's a really good idea to have it checked out, because sometimes we could be preventing a long-term illness down the road, a chronic illness, potentially even cancer. Some of these things, these chemicals that we have in the home, can really cause some serious damage to you and your family.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much for talking to us about all of this. So don't forget, tune into the next episode of the podcast, because Ryan is coming back on to talk all about another topic that I really love to talk about, EMF specifically, and how that could be something that is also affecting your ability to focus. So thank you so much for coming on today, Ryan, and I will talk to you next week.
Sure, you bet. Thank you.
Learn something new in this episode or feel inspired to take action? I'd love for you to share it with a friend and leave a review. Your review will help one more entrepreneur feel healthier, more energized, and focused. If you feel good about helping a friend or a fellow business owner you've never even met, you are my kind of people. I'm excited to help you become limitless in the coming episodes.